So I want to give an update on the Eric Garner case. I made a previous video about this. This was a man in New York City, black man. I am saying that because I think it is significant to the case. And he was killed earlier this year, 17th of July, by the NYPD after being put in an illegal chokehold. It's illegal because apparently the NYPD have put it off the books. You're not meant to do this. Hence the officer was either a complete idiot or deliberately abusing his position. I remember watching the press conference after that by Mayor de Blasio and I forget the NYPD chief's name now, but I thought it was a complete disgrace, their response to that. It was little more than excuses. And the police chief's attitude was frankly callous. He expressed minimal regret and went on to basically show absolute contempt for the victim. It's very hard to accept how in the 21st century, in a country that's supposedly a democracy, that supposedly values liberty, a man can be killed, a man who is unarmed, a man who hasn't used any violence, can be killed in the streets of New York City, and the officer responsible gets away with it. Literally, nothing, zilch. This is a report from the BBC. A grand jury has not charged a New York City police officer over the death of Eric Garner, who died after being placed in a chokehold by the officer. If you see the video, it's very graphic stuff. Mr. Garner had asthma. He was 43 years old, and he was clearly heard in the video saying, "I can't breathe." Watch the video, you'll see it yourself. Officer Pantaleo put this man in a chokehold, which is entirely against their training methods, and then this grand jury has not charged him. Now his daughter has said that they are not even human, there is no humanity, and I can completely understand her sentiments, because this man was killed. This is different than the Ferguson case. In Ferguson there was self-defense issues, but this was absolutely... Watch the video. It's abundantly clear that this man was killed. What angers me about this is you have a situation in America where the police are seemingly above reproach. And I think there needs to be serious questions about what goes on in these grand juries. I.e., what exactly, what information are these people getting? How could any human being see that video of Eric Garner being killed and then claim that there is nothing, there's no evidence to charge this officer? He used an illegal hold that is clearly forbidden, so either he's a complete idiot and forgot his training, or more likely he was abusing his power. And in America, being a police officer is an incredibly powerful position. I've come to the conclusion that American cops are living gods, and I'm so sick of hearing about these cases. I do believe each individual case should be looked at in detail. That's why I was reluctant to make sweeping statements on the Ferguson case. But this case to me is clear cut, because the video speaks volumes. Watch it if you don't believe me. Apparently he was being arrested for allegedly selling on-tax cigarettes. Big deal. So give him a caution, give him a fine. But the fact of the matter is, this man was killed in cold blood. It absolutely makes me mad. And the fact I mentioned, the fact that he is black is significant. This does happen disproportionately to black men in America. Now in some cases it's not so, there is more complex issues at stake, and I do think Ferguson is more complex, but this case is absolutely, to me, clear cut, and to me the officer was 1000% in the wrong. This thug was abusing his power, and I just can't understand how this grand jury could have reached that verdict. I mean, if they watch this video, I can't comprehend how they can make that decision. And it's little wonder that these cases so often result in violent unrest, which I'm not condoning, but you have a situation in America where it seems police can do whatever they want and literally get away with it. This is not a democracy. I really think this is a very, I'll rephrase that because I'm angry, but I think this is a very grave threat to democracy when you have police acting in this way. I mean, that grand jury are either heartless or stupid or corrupt. One of those things. Heartless, stupid or corrupt. Because if they've seen that video, how the hell can they reach that verdict and decide that this officer should not face trial for manslaughter? Now, I'm sure the officer didn't intend to kill Eric Garner, but he clearly used force on a man who had asthma, who couldn't breathe. So as far as I'm concerned, it is absolutely manslaughter. And it's infuriating. Now, the police, taking the usual callous attitude that they take, they probably put this guy on desk duty. Because in America, the police are above the law. Basically, that's a conclusion I have reached. In the United States of America, the police are above the law. If anybody else done this, say for example I get into a fight, I know it's not the same situation, but if I get into a fight and I put a guy in a chokehold and that guy dies, I would be arrested, rightly so, and charged with manslaughter. When a cop does it, he's off the hook, like nothing has happened. So this man's life is basically meaningless, and it absolutely... I want to find out the name of this bear with me a second. I want to quote the name of the officer. He's famous police. Forget the exact title. Please bear with me a second. Yeah, William Bratton. Police Commissioner Bratton. I saw the press conference they gave, and Bratton's attitude was disgusting. Bratton's attitude was basically praising the force and not taking any responsibility. In other words, Bratton believes his officers can behave like thugs and get away with it. And I think massive public pressure should be put on Bratton. If he had any human decency, he would resign. I mean, when you have a situation, and you know what's the problem with police brutality or police abusing their power, and this is an example of police abusing their power. It takes away attention from the good work that they do. Now, any civil society needs a police force. You need a police force to deal with criminals, with armed gangs, etc. And I'm sure the New York Police Department does lots of good work as well. But when you have this attitude, i.e. officers getting away with death, then it's a case that it's one law for them and one law for everybody else. That breeds anger, it breeds resentment, and it destroys trust. This man may have been committing a minor felony, selling on-tax cigarettes, but for him to lose his life, he was unarmed, he was not being aggressive. This is basically a police state. I am convinced that America, by the day, is becoming more and more like a police state. And I can't comprehend how anyone, and I urge you, please watch the video. Please watch the video, because you will see it clear cut. Eric Garner is clearly saying he can't breathe. He's not using violence, he's unarmed. This thug attacks him. If America was a fair society, which it's not, then Officer Pantaleo would be in jail for manslaughter. Just for once, I would like to hear about a case. Well, I don't like hearing about these cases at all, but I would like to hear about a case that actually results in justice. There's no justice here. I would like to hear a case that results in justice and a cop actually ending up behind bars for doing something like this. Now, why the hell is Officer Pantaleo facing no action whatsoever? This shows two things. It shows that the NYPD doesn't give a shit. It doesn't care. And I'm sorry, but I'm very angry about this. They don't care. Bratton has a callous attitude toward it. He doesn't care. All he cares about is watching out for his officers, that they are let off the hook. Bratton is corrupt. Morally, he is utterly corrupt. Because if he had any human decency, he would do the right thing, make a press announcement and saying this is a total disgrace. Instead, what he does is make excuses and trivialise it. I think that's utterly despicable. Now, Bill de Blasio, if he has any backbone, will come out and condemn this. I want to see de Blasio come out and condemn this decision, because it is an utter disgrace. This man was killed in cold blood. We're not talking about a violent gang member who attacked Officer Pantaleo. We're talking about an unarmed man who was attacked by Officer Pantaleo. And it's just an utter disgrace. I'll leave it there because I'm just ranting because I'm angry. But America's got a very grave problem with this. And until those in power start to openly condemn this, what I want to see is Mayor de Blasio come out and absolutely vocally condemn the NYPD for their abuse of power. Bratton isn't going to do it because Bratton is morally corrupt. So I want to see Mayor de Blasio come out and condemn this. Now, no doubt Bratton will turn around and say everyday officers risk their lives, everyday officers save people. We know that. Okay? Most people get that. But that is not a green light for officers to act like they can do whatever they want. Whatever brave things Officer Pantaleo might have done, you know, he could have saved women from muggers or whatever, he might well have done lots of good things in the force. It does not condone what he done in that video. And what he done in that video were the actions of a thug. This is what bothers me. You can get other cases where a member of the public has committed a crime, then you can cherry pick and think, oh, well, they done good things in other parts of their life. As far as I'm concerned, there is no excuses for what he done in the video, and it just sickens me. And for me, this is a lot more clear cut than the Ferguson case. I believe in the Ferguson case, there was, in that case, it is we don't have as much first-hand evidence, but I think it may have been more a self-defense issue, although there's still question marks about it. But this case is clear cut. Eric Garner was killed by the NYPD. Let's not gloss it over. The NYPD has the blood of this man on their hands. And I wouldn't advocate violence, but I wouldn't blame New Yorkers if they went on the streets furious and protested about this. I hope they do. Not because I want to see unrest, but because I hope people realise that justice and fairness in America are being eroded away. And this is what happens in a police state. This is no different from any totalitarian regime. It really, really isn't. So when the United States lectures China or Russia or any other country, it needs to look in the mirror and look at things like this. The only difference is the Chinese and the Russians may hide it. But in America, it's there for everyone to see. This is a complete and utter disgrace. I'll leave it there, but if I was Mr. Garner's family, I would be seeing red tonight. And I'm not advocating violence, but this is a police state. I may as well say it, New York City has become a police state officially, because this has happened. And if it happens once and they get away with it, that means it sends out the message to officers that they can basically do this and get away with it. Shameful. Utterly, utterly, utterly shameful.